Hey everyone, Sparrow here, and today I want to talk about the difference between a narcissist and just your average run-of-the-mill man-child. Now, on the surface, they might really seem to be the same person, and oftentimes they are, but sometimes you really do have just an immature man-child on your hands who isn't a full-blown narcissist. He might have some narcissistic tendencies and traits, but the narcissism or the narcissistic personality disorder is really when the pathology increases and we've kind of crossed the lines, like, okay, this person is a full-blown narcissist. But let's talk about a man-child, because I hear this complaint a lot in my practice, where women are dating or married to men who just don't seem to get their act together. They seem like, well, the complaint that I hear is, I feel like I'm married to a 14-year-old or a 12-year-old boy. That's how he acts. And, when I ask further questions, what I hear is things like, his diet's poor, he doesn't exercise, he stays up late watching TikTok videos and doesn't go to bed even though we have to get up early for work the next day. Or, he frequently quits jobs and doesn't have a new one lined up, or is really underperforming in the workplace, whether that means he's not progressing as he should, or sometimes I hear that he even won't get a job. And so that can be an issue, a whole different issue. But anyway, then I hear things like he's messy, he doesn't pick up after himself, always leaves clothes around, leaves dishes around. He won't floss his teeth or brush his teeth regularly. I've heard that one a bunch. That's surprising, but I do hear that. He doesn't make doctor's appointments or dentist appointments for himself. He's overweight and doesn't seem to care. Doesn't care that his cholesterol's high. Drinks excessively. Gambles. Plays video games on his phone or on his console frequently. Checks out a lot. Constantly scrolling on his phone. I mean, you get the picture, right? You get the picture. And, the other thing I hear about man children is they just all around have a lack of focus. They're frequently forgetful. They don't write things down. They don't put things in their planner or their calendar. They're not grown-ups, right? They're not grown-ups. And then a lot of times when women call them out, they get defensive. They argue, they turn it around on you. Well, last week you forgot to put the clothes in the dryer, and, so that makes up for everything that they're doing or not doing, I should say. And, being with a man-child is really frustrating because, you're trying to create this partnership, right? You want a team. You're trying to be a good teammate. And they're not pulling their weight. They're not a team player. They just want to be in their little cocoon, doing their thing, living life a certain way. Their way, right? And they don't want to be held accountable. Accountability is not something that they're interested in. They'd rather blame, deflect, just like your average teenage son, right? So with a man-child, basically what's happened is somewhere along the lines, they just didn't evolve out of that adolescent stage very effectively. And there could be a number of reasons. Perhaps they were indulged or catered to throughout childhood and they didn't have to do a lot of things for themselves. Or maybe they were too parentified and then they got out of the house and maybe they were too independent and they said, no, I'm going to do things my way. I've been doing them my way for so long. I don't want to grow up. And, one of the other traits I hear about from women about their man children is they eat a lot of candy. And just a lot of junk food. And, they don't want to eat vegetables. When I hear a woman say, my husband won't eat a single vegetable, oh boy, that is a red flag or kind of a sure sign. And oftentimes man children have addictions, right? So whether it's gambling or online gambling, whether it's porn, or video games, or food, or alcohol, or weed. I hear that one a lot. There's this weed addiction now because it's legal in so many places. So, if you were sitting here watching this video, you might be like, oh my gosh, that's my boyfriend, or that's my husband. What am I doing in this relationship? And yeah, it can feel that way. Here's the deal. With man children, there is hope. There's hope, especially if they're motivated to change. Now, they're not going to get motivated if you're nagging. If you're like, oh my gosh, this is the 10th time I've told you, pick up your socks. It's not going to motivate a man-child. It's not. What motivates a man-child is you packing a bag and leaving. And I hate to say that, but it's just true. You know, if you say, you know what, I don't know if this relationship is for me. I'm going to take a few days off or a week off. I'm going to go visit a friend or visit my mom and, you know, I'll think about this. That's when typically the therapists like me and, you know, other coaches and therapists get the phone call like, oh my gosh, my girlfriend's leaving me or my wife wants a divorce. What do I do? What do I do? And then they're super motivated and they can make a lot of changes. With a narcissist, not necessarily the case. Not necessarily the case. Now, where it can get dicey is both a man-child and a narcissist can be cheaters. And, you know, if a man-child cheats, it doesn't necessarily mean he's a narcissist, although, you know, he is inching in that direction, right? So we really want to sit down with a professional, if possible, and discern, say, okay, do I have a narcissist on my hands? Or is this just your average man-child who is in perpetual adolescence, which sadly is a lot of men in this day and age. And we could go down a whole rabbit hole as to why, but in our society today, there's not a lot of rites of passage for men going from adolescence to adulthood. As a matter of fact, the rites of passage that do exist are really, they're not very good. They're not functional. So, you know, oh my gosh, I'm 18, you know, now I can buy cigarettes and lottery tickets and, you know, I can have beers. Maybe not at 18, but, you know, a lot of times they are drinking at 18 or the parents are buying it. But even at 21, now I can go drink, I can go hang in a bar. But where are the healthy rites of passage? When I think about healthy rites of passage, I think of things like, you know, hey, you turned 18, let's get you your own investment account, right? Let's get you investing your money or even maybe learning how to trade. Let's get you investing or buying your first piece of property. I bought my first piece of property when I was 20, and it was just such a good experience, and I did it on my own, didn't really have any help, but I felt like that was really a big step towards adulthood, right? And it doesn't have to be a major purchase like that, but just something, you know, and dads really drop the ball with their sons in this department, unfortunately. They think, you know, the rites of passage are like, hey, we can go out and have beers together. But really showing a young boy or a young man what it means to be a man and to celebrate it, we don't see too much of that. You know, I think the Native Americans had sweat lodges and, you know, drum circles and things of that nature, and other cultures have been better in this area. But here in the Western culture, we're dropping the ball. We're dropping the ball big time with our teenage boys. And so unfortunately that carries over into adulthood. And that's the guy that you're gonna swipe and find on Tinder a lot of times. You're gonna find that man-child. And look, he doesn't even have the wherewithal to go out and date, right? And to meet people organically. He wants to do it easy on his phone. He can play his video game 1 second, he can swipe on his phone and pick a chick the next, right? So, and I'm not bashing anyone who meets people on dating sites. I'm not. But what I am saying is the large majority of the men out there in the dating world, the online dating world, are man-children. Sad, it's just true. So, you know, if they're narcissistic, you're going to really be able to sense that over time because the fighting is going to be vicious and there's going to be a real lack of empathy. Now, a lot of times there's a lack of empathy with a man-child too because, you know, empathy takes maturity and it's a skill that needs to be taught. Kindness is a skill too, and empathy. And so if they weren't really taught that in their development, they're not going to have a bunch for you. And that unfortunately doesn't feel very good. So where it turns ugly with the narcissist is when you really catch them doing a lot of lying, a lot of manipulating, a lot of gaslighting. Maybe they're hiding money. Maybe they have a secret account and they're hiding money. I knew someone one time whose husband hid a gambling addiction and gambled away almost $1 million. And nobody would have known this about him. I mean, he was, kind of a pillar of the community. But, going back and looking through and then connecting the dots after the fact, it's like, oh, okay, some of the signs were there, but he was really good at hiding it. So you're going to see a lot of that pathological stuff with the narcissist. So bottom line, all narcissists are man-children. However, not all man-children are narcissists. However, if you're dating a man-child and don't have children with them, you really might want to rethink the relationship. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of work to help that person grow up. And again, you can't work harder than them. You can't do it for them. And you might spend so much time helping them that you're not focusing enough on yourself. And then, that's codependency. And is it really worth it? Or, maybe it's okay to be single for a little while and find someone who can match you, who really is a good communicator, who can show up for you, who takes care of his business, who doesn't have to be told what to do all the time, who doesn't leave a mess everywhere he goes, who is proactive and plans dates, and really just is a good team player, right? If you are married to a man-child, then maybe really think about what you want to do there. I know a lot of women who say that they are, and then when I say, well, hey, pack your bag and go away for a couple of days, they get scared and they don't do it. And sometimes it's for financial reasons, sometimes it's, codependency reasons, but whatever the case, at the end of the day, if you are a woman who has her act together, you really deserve to have a person who you're equally yoked with. So consider that. Consider professional help. Consider, again, just sort of setting your boundary and saying, this doesn't work for me. I can't be married to somebody or date someone who doesn't brush their teeth enough times in a day, or who consistently pays their bills late and just doesn't have their act together. I had a client one time who was dating a guy and she ended up marrying him. He only showered once a week. And this was a real problem for her, but she enabled it. She would go on dates. She would even be physical with this person who only showered once a week. Now, you have to ask yourself, if that's your standard, where is your self-esteem and what does your self-worth look like? Because for a lot of most women, that would not be okay. That would just not be okay. But anyway, if you are married, in fact, to a narcissist or dating a narcissist, there's not a lot of hope there for you. And I'm so sorry to say that. Maybe, miracles do happen, but by and large, especially, from the therapeutic world, we don't see a lot of people really healing true narcissism, and we don't even see them wanting to. We see them coming into sessions wanting to blame their partner for everything or blame everyone else outside for really what is their shortcomings. So lots to think about. Are you with a man-child? Are you with a narcissist? You decide. And by the way, if you like this video, please click below on the birdcage and subscribe to my page. Check me out online, sparrowspalding.com. I've got a couple of great books you might enjoy, and stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more content to come. As always, hug yourself from me, and we'll see you next time.